When you celebrate Hanukkah, are you sure you're celebrating the right holiday? We know it as a fun time with potato latkes, dreidels, and menorahs. We teach our kids that a few Maccabees fought the great Syrian Greek Empire, which was taking away our religious freedoms. And after the Jewish militias were victorious, they found a little bit of pure oil to light the menorah in the temple, which lasted for 8 days. Right? It's a nice story, but it's not the story. The Hanukkah story is a more uncomfortable one, and that's why they don't teach it in schools. They don't teach you in schools what it was really like when the land of Israel was ruled by the Syrian Greeks, how alluring and appetizing Greek culture was. They don't teach you in schools about how the laws that took away religious freedoms didn't just happen overnight, but instead were introduced slowly. They don't teach you in schools that by the time those authoritarian laws were enacted, most Jews already sided with the Greek Empire. They certainly don't teach you in schools about the immense social pressure there was on a Jew at that time. Social pressure not just by the Greeks, but mostly by their fellow Jews to assimilate. And that is why the struggle of Hanukkah was so intense. It's why when Matisyahu, the high priest, first declared war on the empire, his first act of war was to kill a Jew in broad daylight. A Jew who was proudly serving one of the Greek pagan gods. He didn't kill a Greek sentry. He didn't smash the idol. He killed the Jew. Before we get into why, let's understand the political milieu at the time of the Hanukkah story. It's not too hard to imagine how the Syrian Greek Empire originally tried to introduce their culture to the Jews living in the land of Israel. They didn't take anything away at first. They simply brought their philosophies, their education, their sports, their entertainment, all these shiny new sexy things that the indigenous native Jews had never really been exposed to. At first, the Syrian Greeks said, let's coexist. There's no reason we can't tolerate each other's cultures and ways of life. But then the argument eventually became, look, it's kind of hard to coexist if you stick to your side of the road and don't indulge at least a little bit in our culture. The pressure mounted. Jews started indulging in Greek culture in droves and began looking down on the religious fundamentalists that still obeyed archaic and obsolete Torah law and served in the Holy Temple with their barbaric, weird sacrifices and rituals. You can easily imagine being a Torah-observant Jew at the time and being the target of a vicious campaign by the government and your fellow Jews who converted to the Greeks' Hellenistic culture. You might have been told that you need to become more Greek in order to preserve the peace between nations and avoid tension and war. In other words, you needed to become more Greek to save lives. And if you didn't, you were responsible for bloodshed and war. Wait a second, you might have said. I'm not doing any of that. I'm minding my own business doing what I've always done, which is observe Torah law. I work on my farm in the Judean hills, and 3 times a year I go to the temple, and that's that. I'm not hurting anyone. Ah, but you are, you would have been told. You are single-handedly responsible for driving a wedge between the Jews and the Syrian Greek Empire. We can all die because of you. But most Jews have become Greek already, you say. Isn't the majority of the Jewish nation enough? Why do you need the few stragglers like me to conform? Because we do, they would say. But Greek culture is unhealthy for me, you'd reply. The Torah way of life is healthy and healthy for my family. The hedonistic, selfish pagan lifestyle is unhealthy. See, they'd say, you don't care about other people, but we do. We care about others. That's why we're doing this. Now convert or we'll convert you. And then the restrictions came down. No learning Torah, no circumcisions, no gathering for Jewish rituals. And wouldn't you know it, most Jews were vigorously in favor of that. They applauded when their fundamentalist brethren were arrested for engaging in Torah study or marrying their children in a religious ceremony. So let's recap. You have a tyrannical government. You have intense social pressure to conform. You have restrictions of basic freedoms. You have draconian laws imposed based on some very shady and thin justifications. Sound familiar? But here's the thing. The Syrian Greek Empire never could have pulled this off without the consent and support of the majority of the Jewish people. Social pressure is an extremely powerful thing, and only a very select few can stand up to it. It's why the average person's number one fear is public speaking, and number two fear is death. As Jerry Seinfeld jokes, that means people would rather be in the coffin than be giving the eulogy. And that's why Matityahu's first act of war was to kill the Hellenistic Jew who was publicly promoting idol worship and trying to convince other Jews to do the same. Because overthrowing a government is somewhat easy, it's been done many times. But overthrowing your fellow citizens and bucking off social pressure? That's the real fight. So when we thank God Almighty in the special Hanukkah prayer, we say, we thank Him for delivering the many into the hands of the few. We thank Him for delivering the strong into the hands of the weak. We also thank Him for delivering the impure into the hands of the pure and the evil into the hands of the righteous. Well, what's the big deal about that? Why is that a miracle? Isn't that the way it's supposed to go? But the reason it was a miracle is because the impure and the evil are actually referring to the enlightened Jews, the Jews who had turned on their brothers and sisters to protect the government and protect a foreign pagan culture, all in the name of virtue and saving lives. I don't have to explain how eerily similar this is to the COVID drama rapidly unfolding today. Except for the ending. We still don't have the ending. May this Hanukkah bring a victorious ending for the forces of good everywhere.